to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's going on, Forgers? Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 80 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, as always, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than aloe vera on sunburn. It's Kristen Ashton. Kristen, it just that feeling of aloe vera just doesn't get any more awesome.
No, it's a feeling of relief. It's cold. It's very, very cold. My parents used to put it in the refrigerator so that you take it out and it'd be really cold when you put it on the sunburn. But man, it does offer that relief. Now, hopefully, Jeff, this isn't from a bad burn you got, right?
Well, I attended a wedding that was outside this weekend. Luckily, I didn't get sunburned, but I saw some people that were in the heat, kind of pushing through and getting sunburned out there. It was pretty intense, and I was thinking some people are going to need some aloe vera, and that's where this came from.
That's very true, and those poor guys, I know that feeling because a hike I went on to not too long ago, sunburn, and I haven't had a burn and I don't know how long, and I forgot just how uncomfortable they can be.
Yeah, I think gamer sunburn is a real problem out there because you're usually inside a lot and, you're gaming it up. You're trying to get to master, you're out there. And then when you have to go outside or when you want to go outside, it's easily something that can happen to you.
Yeah, it's very true, especially on overcast days. So regardless of what you're going out to do, groceries, go shopping, whatever you have to do, wear sunscreen.
That's right. Wear sunscreen out there because gamer sunburn is a real problem. PSA brought to you by Heroes Forge. Speaking of things that are hot, and yes, that is the segue, hot stuff going on in Heroes of the Storm because we got Stukov inbound. Kristen, have you had a chance to watch any Stukov stuff? Have you had a chance to play him on your own? What are your thoughts?
I have. I've had a chance to watch and play Stukov, and he is fascinating. He is very busy. He has very intense time requirements, aim requirements, all of that stuff. But in essence, he's a fantastic healer because he feels like he is a healer designed to heal every type of hero, provide both types of healing that every hero needs in the Nexus, burst healing and overtime healing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got from it too. And I also got the fact of this is going to take a lot of practice. If you're going to be a Stukov player, you really got to practice to bring him in at the top level of Stukovness. There's a lot of practice that goes into this stuff. And this hero especially, I think, can be really powerful with a good amount of practice.
Definitely. And not only that, but characters that can lock enemy heroes into place. Because Lurking Arm, it's got quite a cast time. And then it's relatively small. So on the PTR, people were simply avoiding it. There was a split second they were silenced, if it even hit those heroes at all. And otherwise, you'd have to immediately jump out of it. Now, it's a free spell when you have it sitting there. So that was nice. It doesn't drain your mana the longer you have it going. But I found that it's not one of those spells you just leave going. Because as soon as the enemy team sees it, they know there's a Stukov who is incapable of moving. Time to strike.
Yeah, and that could be deadly for you. Because, he doesn't have a huge health pool, right?
No, he doesn't. And his attack speed, you hit somebody, and then you sit there for a bit. You got to wind up again, and okay, you got the second hit out. But he does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's like Medivh's auto attack speed is really slow too. So it's a lot of... it's good for someone like me who's practicing on stutter stepping or moving around the battlefield more often, and that's why... characters like, all of those characters that had the slower auto attack speeds, I think really help me out because I can practice those moves and I'm not in there with like a Vala who's got a faster auto attack.
Oh, totally. It's just like practicing a piano piece, right? You start slow because you need to memorize the motion of the fingers. You need to memorize those dance steps. Once you have that muscle memory down, you can totally jump on Vala, stutter step your way to victory.
Yeah, Malthael. Malthael's who I'm thinking of, not Medivh, who's got that really, really slow, just reaping strikes over again. It's good to practice that stutter stepping on. What's this next thing I see in the news here, Kristen? The specialist playlist.
Yes, so Heroes or Songs of the Storm, the Heroes playlists that have been so lovingly put together by the team, has released another list. This one, my personal favorite, for the specialists of the heroes. And there are some fantastic options such as Murky getting Yakety Sax, and of course, Zool getting Thriller by Michael Jackson.
These are great. I didn't know about this until today, until I saw this. I mean, this is really cool. And they're all available on Spotify. They're playlists, so you can, play them and it'll play through all the music like playlists do. It's a really cool idea. So that's a good question to ask, Kristen. Do you listen to your own tunes when you play Heroes, or do you listen to the soundtrack of the game? What's your preferred method of jamming out?
Oh, that actually depends on how unfocused on the task I want to be. So if it's Heroes, I don't put on anything because I really, really need to listen to the audio cues to hear if there's a death, if something's popping. If I don't have that going and I have a different soundtrack playing, I lose track of everything. It's a bad time for my team.
Yeah, I would have to agree too. I do when I'm playing like quick match and stuff with my buddies, just messing around trying to get heroes leveled up. I listen to my own tunes in the background, but games like World of Warcraft and things like that, I can listen to my own soundtrack almost constantly. Although I think we talked about this when Legion first came out. I can't stop listening to the actual Legion soundtrack in Warcraft because it's so good. I love it so much. So I've yet to listen to my own tunes while playing Warcraft, but this is a really cool idea that they're coming out. Just more community stuff that you can get involved in, listen to these soundtracks as you play the game just to pump you up.
Exactly, and it really does kind of speak to the soul and the tempo of the character it's been matched with. A lot of these are just one for one. So if you want to learn more about a hero and how they should feel when you play them, why not listen to the songs they've been assigned by the people who know them the best?
That's right, and Zool's Thriller is hilarious. Hilarious. Well, let's do what we're here to do. That's the end of the news for now. Get some Stukov play in as soon as he hits the live game, but let's forge.
Let's forge.
This is HeroesForge, and you know what we're here to do. We're going to build a hero that's not in the Nexus yet and imagine what they would be like. This is episode 80, Kristen. So you won the Twitter vote. Congratulations again for winning. I should keep a tally. I can go back and tally up how many wins, and then we can see who actually gets the belt at the end of the season. But I think you're definitely in the lead here. And you made an awesome selection that we've gotten tons of suggestions from the community about forging this specific character for the Nexus. Who is it, Kristen?
It's a very special person who already is in the Nexus, but doesn't have his own toolkit. It's Auto Select Guy.
That's right, the purple Auto Select Guy, who's more ripped than any other hero, more ripped than Varian, more ripped than any other hero in the Nexus. I mean, this guy is ready to fight, and you can go in and auto-select. Now, before we get started on talking about this character that we are just going to basically create everything for today, do you ever play auto-select in the Nexus? Do you ever go in there and go, you know what? Whatever, YOLO, and you click auto-select and just play through?
Only if I'm with a group of friends and the theme is auto-select time, because then that puts all of us onto this equal footing where we may or may not get heroes we know how to do well. And let me tell you, the saddest time I ever did that, I got put on Rexxar, and that was my first time playing Rexxar. And let me tell you, if my teammates hadn't gotten characters they knew how to play, it would have been over in probably a minute.
Yeah, this is an issue that I have run into as well. Being the huge fan of this game that I am, and I've played it for so long and gotten tons of gold and maybe even purchased a few characters, wink wink, on my own, I have all of the heroes that are in the game in my vault, right? I own them all. Now I play them when they come out and I go, yeah, Genji is so awesome. I'm going to play Genji for like a week and get him to level 7 and just, have a ton of fun. And then I may never touch Genji again. And then if I go into an auto-select game, I'm going to get Genji and I'm going to be really bad because I haven't practiced or played. And that's how it is for most of the heroes out there. Like Lost Vikings, getting them to level 5 was like the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Kudos out there if you like to play Lost Vikings, but I was so bad and it was so painful and we never won, so it took so many games to get them to level 5. And now if I go into auto select, I know I will get Lost Vikings.
So do you just abstain from auto select guy entirely because the curse is hanging there, the fear? Yeah,
unless I'm like under the influence of a bunch of adult beverages and want to just go in there and have a fun time and don't care and just, get blown up, nothing feels worse than playing Vikings and just dying constantly because all 3 of your Vikings just keep going down.
Yeah, that's how it goes, but it's part of their play style, right? They don't count as full heroes, so death is part of their mechanic, just like Murky. You're gonna die, and you're probably gonna die a lot, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I love that they changed the Murky death sound now. It's not a full, death sound. He's got his own, bubbly, fish explosion thing or whatever it is when he dies. I like that a lot better. So, yeah, it feels better.
It does. It's not as scary when you hear it go off across, 30 seconds into the game, you hear it go off. You're not going, oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We're done. Just GG here, everybody.
GGs. The GGs start popping out like, no. Okay, so this came to us from a million directions, right? I mean, we got this suggestion from a ton of listeners out there. What would it be like if the auto-select guy, that purple guy that stands there when you're waiting to pick the auto-select, was an actual hero in the game, and just the explosion of ideas that have come out of this on what you could do with him? I mean, how do you see him, Kristen? What is his place in the Nexus? Give us a little backstory.
Oh, well, from what little I could glean from this guy, no one knows who he is. Not even him. Purple from head to foot and wearing only pants. Auto-select guy is exactly who we need him to be when we don't even know what we want ourselves to be.
There you go. That is auto-select guy in a nutshell. And this is another one of those cool characters that we can kind of just go with and be like, this would be so cool to have him in there. And I kind of see him, I mean, this is a little bit of like a D&D thing going on in my head where I'm imagining that auto-select guy is the creator of the Nexus, right? Are these characters actually in the Nexus, or are they all auto-select guys that are channeling these characters from these different universes and fighting each other?
Oh my, so the dream of a dead god or a living god or something. And what if he did get power in the Nexus to play himself? Who would take his place?
Yeah, and how would it all play out? I mean, it would just be really, really weird. And there's, of course, you can just say, this is just a guy that doesn't wear a shirt. And it would have been perfect for the Summer of Heroes event.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't he make the cover? He would have fit right in. We got bikini stitches. We have Fun Tracer. We've got Tychus. He would have fit right in. Just take off the pants. He's probably got some shorts on underneath because he's a surfer, I think. And there we go.
He's absolutely a surfer. See, we could just kind of build this as we go. And let's talk about building. Since Kristen won, I get to talk about my idea for the auto-select guy first. So the first thing we're going to talk about is role classification, and I think this is no surprise, but I'm building auto-select guy as a multi-class hero.
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. A multi-class? You would dare suggest he could play more than one class.
Yeah, I think it's a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch here to say that he would multi-class. And since he doesn't have a name, what we like to do on the show is give these no-named characters names. And I'm going to name my auto-select guy Mr. Purple.
Oh, I like, that's a very simple name. It's straight to the point. We know who we're talking about, and that's it. Now, would he come with color variations, and would the name have to change based on the color variations?
It would just be variations of purple.
So kind of like Ragnaros and his variations of red. He would always have to be purple, but different kinds of purple. I like that.
Although my kingdom for like an ice Ragnaros, like blue, icy, I think that would look so cool.
It would be sick. Maybe for Christmas this year. Maybe for the holidays, Blizzard would release that. And nice reference. Nice Richard III.
Very close. Almost said it, but you didn't. You almost said it, but you didn't. Cool. Let's get into a trait here. So my trait for the auto-select guy is called Jack of all trades. So in this build of the auto-select guy, he would have his own abilities listed below, or listed on the show, but on all of the talent choices throughout the game, he would have the ability to pick a talent that changes one of his basic abilities to an ability of another hero in the Nexus. These abilities would be randomly generated for the auto-select player to choose, but would be based on other roles in the game. So this is not just the game that you're playing, but all heroes that are in the Nexus at the given moment. So at level 1, you're able to pick a randomly chosen assassin ability, and you'd have 3 randomly chosen assassin abilities from 3 different heroes, and that ability would take the place of one of your auto select guy abilities if you wanted to take it. Because in addition to the 3 randomly generated abilities from the class, in each of the talent tiers, the player will also have the ability to select a talent that buffs one of the auto-select big guy's basic abilities, allowing him to keep his ability and not trade it out. So at level 1, you'd have the choice of an assassin ability, level 4, warrior, 7, support, level 10 would be all of the level 10 abilities. One of them would pop up and you could select that one. 13 would be a support, 16 warrior, and 20 would be assassin.
Oh, cool. So based on what your team would need. Okay, so starting off then, what kind of role would Mr. Purple fill?
Well, I think you'll see as we get into these basic abilities, I think he kind of fills a support role on his own, but I'll leave it up to you to tell me what you think. I'm thinking support. It could maybe be a little bit of a specialist-y thing, but I think that gets into his basic abilities a little bit. And I'm wondering how the UI would look for something like this, because let's say at level 1, the assassin abilities pop up. There are 3 assassin abilities and 1 that buffs one of your basic abilities instead. So do they show up, and which one of the abilities they would take over? For example, if you got Vala's, assassin ability to vault, that would fall on E, right? And then if you got her hungering arrow, that would fall on Q. So you'd have to make the decision quickly in the game which one of your abilities you would want to lose in order to gain Vala's ability from that one trait.
Oh, so in that case, not only would it be random which abilities you could trade out, but which slots those abilities would sit in. Oh, that really rings true to his name. Did have a question. I see level 1 assassin, level 20 assassin, 4 warrior, 16 warrior. I guess then my question would be answered, because I was curious, if you choose to go with another warrior ability, would that trade out what warrior ability you're already using? But I guess if it's not on the same letter, you wouldn't need to worry about shifting out another warrior ability.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I see it happening out. And also, you have to remember that in all of these levels, you're getting the option to buff your own, which means that you could get your own ability back. So let's say, for example, you have your Q, and on level 1, you happen to take Vala's hungering arrow at level 1, which takes away your Q. And then at 4, there's a warrior Q that pops up. Maybe it's Murden's axe toss or whatever that is, his Q. If you take his Q, it'll override Vala's and go in your toolbar instead. So maybe it's a little convoluted, but I wanted it to feel as though you could really morph your character throughout the entire battle.
Yeah, and that makes plenty of sense with who he is. He's a random guy. He's got the ability to become anybody in the Nexus. Anybody, anything, and have access to all of their abilities, all of their talents. That is neat. So you'd never get a talent to buff an ability you've taken. It would only be talents that buff abilities that come in your base kit.
Exactly, 100%. And let's talk about the base kit. Let's get into it because I think it'll clear up a couple of how this might work. So before we do that, though, let's talk about the mount. And I love the hang glider in World of Warcraft. So I'm like, the auto select guy is the perfect guy to have a Nexus hang glider, which would be like the stars of the Nexus mount, but on a hang glider instead of the horse.
Oh, heck yeah, he would. And then he would high-five people as he'd glide by them or be stuck. You know, its movement speed's a little impaired. But, you know, if he managed to pass somebody who is on foot, just give him a high-five.
That's right. And it's a little-known fact that the auto-select guy actually is a huge fan of national parks and hang gliding at Yosemite.
Well, that's a perfect place to hang glide. And that explains, too, why he doesn't need a high place to jump off to hang glide. Unless he does when he's mounting up.
Yeah, I think he just... He's a professional hang glider, so he can hang glide without a high place to jump off of.
I like it. His leg muscles are so strong, he can run fast enough to get some good air, and then you take off.
That's right. Here's some basic abilities now. So this is his base kit, which can be overridden by other abilities. So the first one is called Nexus Smash. So I'm calling this one an anti-support ability. So Nexus Smash, the auto-select guy pulls forth his forging hammer. I'm pulling in a little bit of HeroesForge here because you can see our logo is actually the hand of the auto-select guy, which is awesome. He pulls forth his forging hammer and smashes it down on an enemy, inflicting a large amount of damage. This smash will deal more damage to support heroes and also reduce the amount of healing that they can do for a short amount of time.
Ooh, so I'm guessing he's melee for basic attacks.
Yes.
Okay, and he's just regular speed, so he'd have to be kind of tricky to get back to those healers.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe there's some more basics that could help him get there. But I think, yeah, if you're in a team fight and you're in the right place at the right time, this anti-support is really cool to deal more damage to supports and reduce the amount of healing that they can do.
Yeah, and the reduction to healing is a very, very powerful ability that really, really stacks up if your team needs that little bit extra damage to eke out a kill. Take away the healing, you don't have to give your team damage.
Oh yeah, and if used right, I mean, you could be right in the middle of these fights and just, you know, in combo with these other basic abilities, which the second one is called Nexus Fury, which I'm calling this an anti-assassin ability. Calling on the power that created the Nexus, this ability allows the auto-select guy to create a circle of Nexus, like stars and space around his tune. All heroes that are in this area are revealed and take damage. But if an assassin is in range of this ability, they receive a debuff to the amount of damage that they can do for a short amount of time.
Oh, gross. A debuff to the amount of damage. Those are words that assassins never want to hear.
No, they don't ever want to hear it, and they also don't want to hear that you're going to be revealed, right? So if you're a sneaky Valera trying to get up on the auto-select guy, and, you know, you're in range of this Nexus Fury that's going off, kind of like an Arthas, right? Arthas has got that aura around, which I recently found out reveals you because it does damage, and it's a big, big, bad thing if you're trying to play stealthies. But yeah, so this is just the anti-assassin. So anybody that goes in and touches this is going to have a debuff. Even when they leave it, they'll be debuffed. So he's kind of still at the front lines here. So I'm saying that he doesn't have a small health pool. He's pretty beefy.
Yeah, and this would be a great detriment to keeping melee assassins off of him. So giving himself an area in which he can move around where he won't have to worry too much about those melees coming in. Now, that means he would be weak to ranged assassins, yeah? Unless, of course, he managed to get up in their space.
Yeah, so that's where this third basic comes in. It's called Nexus Transfer. And this is actually what I'm calling an anti-warrior ability. So the auto select guy fires a beam at a target and it locks on, kind of like Asmodan, right? If the beam stays on the target for a select amount of time, the targeted hero will switch places with the auto select guy. This ability can be used on both friend and foe, but if used on an enemy warrior, they will be stunned if the switch is completed.
This is a wonderful combo. So you can switch yourself in, smash the support, turn on the damage, or turn on the anti-damage first. Oh man, that's just gross. This is really, really cool how it combos with everything else.
Yeah, and I really like, I love the Asmodan beam and I love the Artanis switch, and so this is like a hybrid of both of those things together where you have to be connected for a short amount of time, so it's not a skill shot like Artanis, but once you're connected and you do the swap, if it was a warrior, they'll be stunned at the other end of the swap, and maybe you can, you know, prevent body blocks this way from warriors. You could use it on characters that aren't warriors and just switch yourself around like you said and kind of get in the thick of the fight there.
Yeah, so what's the range on this? Would it be like Asmodan's laser? And would the enemy hero have a chance to get out of the range?
Yeah, good question. Yes, I think they can get out of the range, so they can dodge that, what we're saying is a skill shot from that circle that would pop up that would show them the range, maybe like a Drain Hope range or something like that. So they'd have to use an ability to get out of it or just run, and or be swapped.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, how long are you thinking the beam would have to be on the person before the swap happens?
I don't know. What do you think? I think a good amount of time, but because you gotta give and take without the, because Artanis has got that instant swap, but you have to hit the skill shot, right? So maybe it's like 3 or 4 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe that's too long.
Maybe. I guess that would have to be something that's tried out, right? Because how much time do you give a person to see that they've been targeted by the laser and then choose to get out? Or do you make it one of those instantaneous things, but you shorten the distance?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a ton of cool stuff that you could do with this. And so that's basically what I had in mind, was like an anti-hero hero. So you got the Nexus Smash for the anti-support, Nexus Fury anti-assassin, Nexus Transfer anti-warrior. Now some heroic abilities here. This first one's called Nexus Bandit. So the Nexus Bandit, when this is selected, the auto attack or the auto select guy is able to use a random enemy's heroic from the battle. This is how I figure it would work out. All enemy heroes in range of this ability that have their heroic off of cooldown can be targeted for it to be stolen. The auto select player activates this ability and then takes one of the heroics from the enemy, and it's added to his ability bar. It will enter his ability bar with a short 10-second cooldown, and the player will only have 15 seconds to use it before it goes away. The enemy player that had their heroic stolen will see that their ability is on a reduced cooldown before they can use it again.
Oh, interesting. So this then makes it sound like he's going to be an opener when it comes to engagements. Because when you go into a full team fight, nothing's going to be blown. However, the longer you are into that team fight, the less of a choice you're going to have when it comes to ultimates, especially when you're talking about those longer cooldowns.
Yeah, and it also really plays off the fact of, I mean, this is RNG to the max here. You're running into a team fight, you got all 5 of them up there, let's say 4 of them haven't used their heroic, you're going to hit this ability, you're going to roll the dice, hope you don't get a 7, you're going to roll it and you're going to get, you know, Twilight Dream or something like that. Then you got to really communicate with your team and be like, this is what I got, we're using it now, we're going to fight. Or you're going to get something like Odin or something, and maybe you don't have the firepower to keep going. Or, I mean, the communication's going to be crazy. And also on the other team has to be like, oh, I have my Odin stolen from me, they have an Odin now, so get ready for that. I mean, the communication will be insane.
Totally, and that would definitely put the enemy team into a pickle if they're not able to do that ebb and flow that comes with team fights. If they can successfully manage to back up, wait for that heroic to be over, The guy then has his heroic back, so you probably have 5 heroics not on cooldown, and the enemy team has 4 left, which puts you in the advantage.
And gosh, doesn't this really speak to having to be an auto-select champion in order to take this character, right? So you get in there, and let's say you get March of the Murlocs or something, and you've never played Murky before, you don't know what you're doing, so like it can really hinder your team if you get an ability that you've never used.
Oh, definitely. And not only not knowing how it works, but the positioning alone can make or break how an ability affects a team fight.
Yeah, and you really got to go out on the fly, and this is definitely one of those like esports Yogg Saron Hearthstone moments where you cross your finger and you hope you get what you need, and if you don't, that's what makes the true champion is still winning with an ability that you don't really need or want.
Exactly. Turning a negative into a positive and pushing the little bit of an advantage that it gives you.
Yeah, heck yeah. Okay, that's the first heroic. The second one is called Nexus Repair. So if a player uses this ability on a fort or a keep that has been destroyed, they have the ability to rebuild it. Slowly, the auto-select player will stand next to the rubble of the taken down fort and begin to forge it anew. This would be a significant amount of time for the auto-select guy to bring it back to life, and it would only return with partial health, but this would be a huge battlefield changer.
Oh, wow. So rebuild it entirely. Fill it back up with ammo and everything?
Yeah, so it would be kind of like a, haphazardly put together fort. It wouldn't be a full on, I'm able to mule this all the way back to full health if I really paid attention, and they didn't. But you could fill that lane with another building. You could stop the catapults from spawning that way because you could rebuild the keep. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do, and this would be really powerful. They'd have to really balance the crap out of this on how much time it would take. You'd have to be out of the battle for a good amount of time to get this done.
Oh my goodness, but the ability to turn off catapults in a lane alone, I think, would make this entirely worth it. Auto pick even.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I think it might be OP, but I think that whole repair is a portion of the game that we have right now in certain ways. And then what if you could rebuild? And who better to rebuild than, in my mind, the guy that made the Nexus?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you were throwing in lore in the beginning. What if he projects things into the Nexus? Why wouldn't he then be able to create forts again within the Nexus? What if he's the creator?
What if he is the creator? Oh man, this could just get all crazy with auto-select guy lore. We're making it up right here. Very cool. Okay, so that is my auto-select guy build. If I had to sum it all up, I would say he is a jack of all trades, right? He's able to do a whole lot being a multi-class. Now that it's done, Kristen, do you think his base kit would fall under supportiness, specialistness with the whole anti-support, anti-assassin, anti-warrior stuff?
That is a great question. He doesn't have a heal. And if we're going off Blizzard's rules at the moment, that if it doesn't have a direct heal for the team, it goes in the specialist category, because that's where Medivh went, right? Even though I think a lot of us would consider Medivh more of a support than a specialist.
Yeah, so maybe Specialist is where he plays if you play his base kit, but of course with that trait you're able to kind of mix and match whatever you get in the Nexus. So that is my auto-select guy. It was a ton of fun to build this kit. And before we get to Kristen's whole kit that we've got to talk about, we have some people that we need to thank. Just as always, we need to thank everyone that supports this show on patreon.com/HeroesForge. Absolute rock stars out there for supporting the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support every single week. We really appreciate it, and we couldn't do the show without you. Also, thank you to everyone that gives us a 5-star review on iTunes. That also helps the show grow, and we've been growing like crazy over the last couple of months. So if you're out there and you're listening to this show, tell all of your friends that would enjoy it, and send them on over to our website, which is HeroesForge.club, for the 79 other episodes that they could catch up on. Also, thank you to everyone that hangs out in the chat. As always, we've got a lot of back and forth going on, and it is totally awesome. All right, Kristen. Let's get into it. What role classification are you going with here?
I'm going with whatever you want him to be.
So and multi-class to the extreme.
To the extreme, and you'll see why, because this build is very different from previous builds I've done. Once we explain what the trait is, it's front-loaded, and after that, it's this beautiful thing that I think would reward the players that know a lot about heroes.
And that's auto-select guy to the max, right?
It really is, because the more heroes you know, the less you're going to worry about Lost Vikings, right? Or in my case, Rexar.
Hey, I've seen a lot of Rexar out there. I've seen a lot of Cassia over the last couple of weeks out there in the Nexus, so gotta work on your stuff to get in this auto-select guy. Okay, so what is the name of your auto-select guy?
I just went with Random Man. I like that he would just be called Random Man.
And what would his theme song be if he had one in the Nexus?
Oh, probably some sort of 60s cheesy superhero theme to it. But I guess it depends on what event is going on within the Nexus. Because if we went with the beach, the Suns Out, Guns Out theme, I'd want him to listen to Jimmy Buffett.
Or just the Baywatch theme song the entire time.
Yeah! Running along the beach, slowly, pecs bouncing, waves splashing. It's a beautiful sight.
And then, of course, the 70s superhero theme song be like, random man, he can do whatever you can.
Which is not much.
Yeah. Theme, that's the end. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get into some traits here. What's your trait for Random Man?
Okay, this trait is basically everything he is, and it's called Go Big or Go Home. So Random Man allows you to build the kit you want based off of currently live heroes in the Nexus. This means that you choose your Q, W, E, oh, not your trait, your QWE and ultimate based on the role you decide to go. However, there are two catches. The first is that once you choose a role, you can only choose abilities and traits of other heroes of that same role. The second is that you can't choose two abilities from the same hero. Now, instead of talent choices, each tier to 10 opens up your next ability choice. Once you hit talent tiers 13 through 20, you then get to augment the abilities you've chosen.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this, I can see how this would be so fun to, like, build your kit, right, as you're going in the game. So that's my first question is, what does this look like at the start of the game? So you've got that, 15 seconds or 10 seconds before the game starts. What is the auto-select guy player doing during that time?
First thing that would pop up, you'd choose which class you're going to go. Simply based on your own knowledge of your team and the knowledge of the enemy team that you have. And so once you've chosen that, then I would imagine you would get a pop-up of all of the heroes in that class. And then you'd go to the one you want and you'd take their Q.
Oh, hell yeah. So the enemy team doesn't know anything about what you're doing, right? They don't know. Well, I guess they could look at the talent screen, right, and see what you chose.
Totally. They could look at the talent screen. They'd know what you've chosen. They'd then know that that hero no longer offers you any viable options going forward. But as to what your build is going to be, it's anyone's guess unless you study meta.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to be in there. I mean, you could have... if you're going assassin, you could have Kerrigan's Q, you could have a ton of really cool stuff and build this crazy combo that you would never be able to get with the actual hero.
Exactly. So that in and of itself would require a lot of work, a lot of information, and probably a lot of playing around with different combinations of heroic abilities.
Oh, yeah, and how cool that would be to... I mean, because in a way, you could build your own unstoppable team, in a way. So, like, if you're looking for a Stitch's hook into a Malfurion root, you couldn't do that, right? Because that's a warrior and a support, correct?
Correct.
But you could get a different stun, like... if you had, oh man, there's so many really cool combinations out there of stuff, especially since characters like Medivh are classified as specialists. So you could get in there and do some like bone prison protect stuff.
You absolutely could. Oh, 100%. You could annoy the heck out of the enemy team. You guys thought Murky Lost Vikings were bad? Oh, just wait. Just wait.
Oh, yeah, because I'm thinking about Murky's bubble in the specialist, right? So you got Sylvanas' talent where you're turning off the towers, and you got Murky's bubble so you can get protected like he does. And also what's making me think of is that all of those animations that those abilities have would be happening to the auto-select guy as in his, like, are you imagining he looks like he does, we see him?
Yeah, he would still be the same purple guy. Nothing changes about him. I mean, maybe he's got some armor or something, and skins we'll talk about later. But basic guy. It's just the purple guy.
And so are you imagining that, I mean, how did you come up with this idea for him? Is it because he is the forger of the Nexus, or is he a sorcerer that has the ability to gain the other abilities of other heroes? Well, what's the basis of him being able to do this?
Oh, geez, so we're going over the lore of this guy. He is a doppelganger. He can turn into anybody, anything. He has their voice, he has their traits, he has their characteristics, and unless you can figure out, you ask a question and catch him in a lie, no one would know.
So it's like the X-Men, what's her face? Jennifer Lawrence plays that X-Men, you know, that can change into other people.
Mystique?
Mystique, that's it. It's like Mystique in a way.
Totally, and that works even better, too, because her base look is very, very different from what she changes into.
Aha, see? This is getting somewhere. Sorry, throwing you curveballs with the lore questions.
No, we got to make it work, right? The best part about Heroes is all of the lore and trying to explain why certain events happen in the Nexus.
That some are yet to be explained, which is interesting. Okay, cool. So we can talk through your basic abilities here. So the Q, what were you thinking for Q? That just comes from your trait, right?
Correct. Q would come in at level 1. Like I said, you choose your class, and then you get to choose from the heroes of that class. And it would have to be a Q ability from one of those heroes. It couldn't be a W, couldn't be an E, and it certainly couldn't be a level 10 heroic.
Oh, yeah. So this drops down at level 1. So his other abilities are just blank. He can't do anything but Q at this point.
Correct. So he is a very, very mid to late game hero. Your team should not expect much from you, unless, of course, you have the magic Q that gives you a strong foundation and gives you the ability to really stand and fight early on.
Yeah, I can see, or heal early on if you decided to go like a Morales heal beam, or because that would be really beneficial depending on his health pool. So that's 2 questions. What are you thinking about his health pool, and what are you thinking his auto attack would be, ranged or melee?
The auto attack I'm thinking would be melee. As for health pool, I think that would fluctuate based on the class he chooses at the start of the game.
Smart. Yeah, that's a really good idea. So you can, and maybe it would even show you that what your health would be if you chose a different class.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this also begs the question, how would you do something like Ariel, right? Who runs off of capping other people and gets healing from their ability to do damage. Maybe your trait shifts. Like the trait you start off with is always there. You always get to choose the Qs, Ws, and Es. But the image changes a bit to give you the power to do the QWE.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a logistical nightmare in order to program that, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I don't imagine this would ever happen except in this wonderful mindscape we have going here.
I love it. What's your second basic?
The second is simply your choice too. So you get to level 4 and boom, now you can choose a W. Now, the hero who you chose the Q from is grayed out or not even on the screen anymore because you can't double up on choosing those. So now you choose the W from a different hero.
So you really are going to build like a, what's the word, smorgasbord of like a hero that you're just kind of piecing together to find the best. And like you said, looking into the meta of it, I'm sure people would find really good combos.
Yeah, and this kind of came about from the idea that was posed in a chat a few days ago of what heroics, or it was the simple question, which hero would have the coolest heroic combo if you could choose both of their heroics at the same time?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question. I have to think about that one because I think there's really cool combos. Illidan comes to mind. That would be really neat, right?
Right? Hunt in Metamorphosis? That would be ridiculous. And you would probably save yourself from a vast number of untimely deaths and poorly executed hunts.
Although Murky would probably be a close second place where you just octo-grab someone and then March of Murlocs all over.
Oh my goodness, right. And imagine if you could set up March of Murlocs, what you do, right? You blow the horn, they go, and then you catch them in it, and it's just steamrolling them with poison.
Love it. Okay, your third basic.
Third, you get to level 7, you get an E. And of course, the 2 heroes you've chosen from are right out, and this is a new E from a different hero. And what I was kind of thinking when I was looking at this is I would definitely want to go specialist just because. And I was thinking maybe you'd go with the Sylvanas Withering Fire, a Murky Pufferfish, an Azul Bone Prison, because the Withering Fire would stop the enemies in their tracks, right? If you have a little bit of her trait thrown in, that would keep them on top of the area with the Pufferfish. And of course, that Azul Bone Prison, even more of a lockdown, so you could really maximize a puffer.
Yeah, and that's what you're trying to do with your team. If you had those 3 heroes on your team, you're trying to do that, but you could eliminate that and create it with just one character to get that, you know, Kerrigan combo in there, practicing that. Oh, that's such a great idea.
Totally. And it would take a lot of study. I mean, the amount of knowledge you would need to successfully put together something that would benefit your team every single time you played, it would be insane, but it would be so much fun. The variety and the color, the cool interactions.
Oh, yeah. I'm just imagining also the amount of trust it would take from your team. You'd have to type in and be like, guys, I got this. And be like, you took the specialist? Why'd you take the specialist? And you took the pufferfish? What are you thinking? And you'd be like, guys, I got this. Then you get the combo all the way down and they're like, oh, okay.
And they still don't trust you.
I love it. It's great. What about your heroics?
And then the heroics, same as the rest. Once you get to level 10, you get to choose the heroic. One heroic, you don't get 2, sadly, but one heroic from a hero you haven't chosen from before.
And just based on your combo that you've been thinking of, what heroic goes with that?
I was thinking Asmodan Demonic Invasion. So you lock things in place and then you just wipe them off the face of the Nexus.
That'd be so cool. And the animations I can't get over where this auto-select guy is doing the demonic invasion animation. I mean, I think that's so cool.
Right, and imagine if he gets Asmodean's laser instead, so it's just some purple guy with a laser out of his hand. Or maybe he goes with the murky bubble and it's a full-grown man riding in a bubble.
That's the best. I love it. This is such a cool idea that you could build your own hero. I mean, how do you sum it all up, Kristen?
Oh, this came to me. It was gorgeous. 60% of the time, he works every time.
Auto-select guy. That's the perfect description of auto-select guy in general. Even how he's in the Nexus right now.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely. I'd say I win probably about 60% of the time with auto-select guy, but when we do win, that's a 100% win.
That's right. He won all of the time. I totally dig it. Okay, let's talk about some really cool specialty skins and dance moves here. So, Kristen, I'm going to let you go first. What's your specialty skin for this guy?
Got this. I'm going with Sexy Picard. We're calling it the Sexy Picard in honor of what the core has named this legend in the Nexus. And he'll make it so that you'll never want to stop playing.
Where did this come from, the sexy Picard thing?
As far as I know, it was spawned on the core. That's what they started calling him, because they have these wonderful names for all of the heroes, namely Raynor, Two Button Terry. That was a good one too, but
those guys are geniuses. I mean, that is really funny, sexy Picard. And what does the skin look like? What's the difference? It's just the same skin.
I would imagine it would be Picard's uniform, but maybe the shirt's unbuttoned or something, so you can still see the purple guy's chest, and you know it's the purple guy, but he's still bald, and it's nothing too special, and maybe it's only tints of purple.
It's great. It's really great. My specialty skin is called First Date Auto Select Guy, and his voice line is, "I can be whoever you want me to be." And he comes complete with a tuxedo, a bouquet of roses, and a smartphone for Tinder.
Oh my god, if that isn't "I can be whoever you want me to be," I don't know what is. I have no idea. The power of the internet has literally given us a chance to pretend to be whoever we want. I love it. So would he have a special outfit either? I'm loving the roses and the smartphone, but is he dressed up?
He's wearing a tux. But he's still the purple guy, you know? And then, like, if you go through the different tints, I mean, there'd be like 12 different tints. So the first one would be a tuxedo. The second one would just be a suit jacket. The third one might be a polo. The fourth one would be like a muscle shirt. I mean, you can just go through, and whoever you want the auto-select guy to be on your Tinder date, he will be it.
That is genius. Oh my goodness, that's brilliant. Why don't we have dating outfits for our heroes?
Because no one can be whoever you want them to be except for the auto-select guy. Let's move on to some dance moves here. My dance move for my auto-select guy, whose name is Mr. Purple, is actually going to be the Mr. Blonde dance from Reservoir Dogs to Stuck in the Middle with You.
Ooh, now which dance was that one?
That's the one right before he cuts the guy's ear off. You know, stuck in the middle with you.
Yes,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So basically just it's like a dad dance, basically.
Well, there we go. That's all you need. And maybe that's all the purple guy needs to do.
Well, when he's taking these other characters out on dates in the Nexus, he just has got that, you know, that dance moves to win the day.
He's got that swagger. He knows what to do. He knows that you don't need to dance too hard when you're willing to dress up in any way imaginable.
And then he just pulls out his hang glider and he's like, yeah, I'm that cool.
And he does the dance in the hang glider while carrying the roses. And what was it, swipe right?
Yeah. I don't know, swipe right or swipe left. He does one of those two and then keeps moving forward. What's your dance move?
I think he'd do a kickboxer routine because he's dressed like Van Damme of yore. So he does this really cool kickboxing routine to show off his poise and perfection in all zones of combat.
He is, in all zones of combat, a master. And so, also, I see the potential here to have like a Chuck Norris skin.
Well, there you go. That would be even better, right? Because then you put on a shirt, but the sleeves are ripped off. And you've got a beard.
Yeah, the beard. Like a Uther beard.
Oh, nice. Except better. Take that, Uther.
Because the auto-select guy gave you your beard in the Nexus.
Exactly. So why wouldn't he, if he dressed up similarly to other heroes in the Nexus, do it better than they could? Especially if we're going with the lore that he designed and created everybody within this realm.
I love our custom lore. It's really great. It's really fun. We can call the auto-select guy Forged.
HeroesForge.
There are so many different ways that you could pull this guy off. I mean, there's a ton of different ideas out there in the community that are floating around. On Heroes Fire, there's even ideas about what he would be, taking abilities from other characters, getting different heroics, being able to craft your own abilities, kind of like a Hearthstone thing would be really cool. Like, you know, maybe this ability does a stun, and then this ability does this, and you could pick it out of like a ever-changing list of things that could come up. I mean, there's tons of stuff here.
Yeah, and the important through line with Auto Select Guy is that I think we all collectively as a community would want this to be the, like you said, the smorgasbord hero, the buffet, the one hero that we get to craft as the game goes on.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think if anything we can take away from this is that auto select is all about knowing everything. I mean, that's really what you've got to know how everything works. You've got to be ready to jump into battle and know how it all works and how it works against other things as well.
Exactly. This character would be successfully based on information and execution. If you know a lot and if you practice a lot, he'll offer you very, very few problems because you'll easily enough be able to adapt to any situation because you've seen those situations before and you know what's required to come out on top.
Right, just like selecting auto-select when you go into the game.
Exactly. I mean, if you don't know who to choose in the draft, the auto-select guy.
That's right. They'd have to change the auto-select guy to something else if they brought him into the game.
They would, and who would that even be? Would we then go to an auto-select gal, an auto-select ferret? I don't know.
And then the potential just opens up. It's a can of worms. Then the auto-select gal would move into the actual becoming a hero, and then the ferret would become the auto-select, and then the ferret would be a hero, and it would just be an ever-rotating, just massive auto-select family.
Well, you know, the creators are sick of watching their creations run around not being as cool as them. So it's understandable they'd want to step in, take mortal form, and do their thing.
Absolutely. It's a story we see over and over and over again. All right, Kristen, any final thoughts on the auto-select guy?
I think he would be incredibly difficult to build, but if built, would be super fun. Frustrating, certainly frustrating to a very, very real degree, but a lot of fun because there's then the potential to see what kind of combinations people discover and just how crazy those could be.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if it's not the auto-select guy, which is probably going to be the case, right? They're probably not going to create this hero. But they could take something like this, these ideas that we had, and put them to a different hero, like, say, the Innkeeper or something. So you have the ability to discover other abilities and build your kit off of the talent choices that you make, even more than the way that we do it right now in the Nexus. So I think the general ideas that we've talked about today are possible. Probably not the auto-select guy, though.
Yeah, possible, not probable, but the whole idea of that self-discovery, self-flair when you put together a hero, I think that desire is there very strongly.
I love it. It's great. All right, Kristen, well, we're going to call the show there, but before we go, where can people find you in the interwebs?
On the interwebs, you can find me at Dream Destroyer. That is DRM, DESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
And what are you working on your streams right now?
The Witcher 3 DLC. We finished up the main story quest on Thursday, and some very good tears were shed. It was a great ending that got better as it went, as predicted. And now the DLC is promised to be even better than that.
So, so the ultimate consensus here with The Witcher 3 is buy it.
Oh, yes, but... And I'm trying not to come after it so biased, because I am extremely biased toward this game. If you don't like a sharp learning curve at the beginning of a game, this could be very challenging. Also, it is an RPG. Entirely RPG. So if you don't like RPGs, you don't like character building and pretending to be somebody, it's probably not going to be for you. But for everybody else, wow.
Everybody else buy it, and for those that it's not for you, play Heroes of the Storm and listen to HeroesForge. You can do that whether you play The Witcher 3 or not. And if you're looking to listen to it, you can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your favorite podcasting apps out there. Just search for HeroesForge, all one word, and you'll find it and download it. Also, you can check out our website, which again is heroesforge.club, where we have everything that we've done ever on our website. Check it out there. If you're looking to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/HeroesForge. And over there, we'd like to thank all of our current patrons again for supporting the show week after week. If you want to send us an idea that you want to see on this show, there's a million ways you can do that. You can do it on the website. You can send us a tweet at our Twitter handle, which is @ForgeHeroes, or you can send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com, and you can send us your idea, whether it's a kit you'd like to see on the show with our featured Forger episodes, or if it's just someone you'd like to see on the show, send us your ideas. Also, you can find us streaming this recording live every Sunday night on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are so grateful to be part of the Amove TV video game and podcast network. Check out amove.tv for more great esports and video game podcasts. The auto select guy has been forged, Chris, and we've been waiting for this for 80 episodes.
It's true. He was probably one of the earliest suggestions we received.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? I mean, we've got thousands of characters to talk about in these games, and the auto-select guy made it in before episode 100.
Oh, so that begs the question. We've got 20 more episodes, listeners. You better get those suggestions in if you're wanting to hear before we hit 100 and completely shift gears.
Absolutely. 20 more episodes. If you want something crazy, we're planning something crazy. We're planning it so crazy we don't even know what it is yet. But in 20 episodes, we will.
Just give it time, you know? Ideas need time to percolate to become perfect.
That's right. We put the burner on low, and it's just going to slowly boil up around like Thanksgiving and Halloween. We'll be getting some really good ideas, because episode 100 will be like right at the start of the new year or the end of this one. So keep an ear to the ground. Lots coming in the future. Kristen, great choice with the auto select guy. We're going to call the show there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all in the real world.